All right, our very last lesson for sports psychology, we are going to talk about communication. I know I said we were going to talk about working in teams. You cannot work in teams well without excellent communication. So teams might have different strategies, different strengths, different players, coaches, playoff positions, etc. One thing that all great teams have in common is that they're excellent communicators. So communication, let's start by talking about what it is not. It is not all about the words that you say, and communication does not stop when you stop talking. So, words that we say, we need to be aware first that everyone has like a mental interference that they bring to a conversation. So that is like our personality, our background. Maybe I'm saying something and I don't mean it in a bad way, but because of something in your past, or if you're talking to a coach, something in their past, or if you're talking to a player, it's taken in a mistaken way. We often we want to assume that the person will question us if they have any difficulties understanding the content of our message. And so often we get offended when we're asked to clarify, and we want to just really be watchful of that. Questioning is not questioning your authority. So if you're coming in as a coach or as a sports analyst, psychologist, it's not a questioning of your authority. It's questioning for clarification. We want to work to constantly improve our self-awareness in social situations. We want to be aware of what our body language is saying, what we're communicating through our stance, through our posture, through our gestures, which we'll talk about this more in a second. We want to make certain that we state opinions, not as facts. It is very easy to state what we think as a fact simply because we think it. It does not mean it's true. And before we convey messages, we want to ask ourselves what our intent is. Are we trying to add to the discussion, like open up the discussion? Are we simply trying to get our point across? Are we trying to be right instead of helpful? Are we trying to prove that we're right? We want to think about all these things before we commence in communication. Like, really, what is my intent? Is this helpful? Is it not? Also, it doesn't stop when you stop talking. So communication is not done when we stop talking. We want to make certain, like through clarification, that the listener has heard our message. We want to make certain there's no distractions, that it's not being interpreted in a wrong way. We will talk about how to do this here in a minute, but like I'm not going to go talk to my coach about some important life decision 30 minutes before the game starts, right? Because they will not hear what I am saying clearly and they will not respond in the best manner. That's really good parenting advice. Also, if you're not paying attention when your 3-year-old comes up and asks you something, you might want to stop and pause and listen before you say yes, because you have no idea what you'll be saying yes to. Okay, what communication is. We communicate through our body language and through our tone of voice, much more than what the words that we're saying. So eye contact. Are we maintaining eye contact? Are we looking all around the place? When we maintain eye contact with a person, it conveys much more clearly that what our message is and that we're serious about what we're saying. Especially when we have a difficult conversation, we want to maintain eye contact. Our facial expression, is it conveying openness, like let's have a discussion about this, or is our facial expression conveying I think you're stupid and I want you to know it? If you're not interested in what's being said, you might appear bored. We just want to be very, very aware of what our facial expression is saying. Similar to our posture, if we are sitting or standing up straight, we demonstrate confidence when we're saying something. If we slump in our chair or our shoulders, are forward, the receiver may not take seriously what we're saying. Also, if they're talking to us and we are not, upright and at attention, they may think that we are not taking them seriously, which may cause the conversation to go like all haywire, and all of a sudden 10 minutes later we're like, whoa, what the heck happened? And it's because of what we were conveying. Hey, I'm not interested. Hey, I don't care. Gestures, various behaviors that indicate how we feel. So rules of thumb. When you are talking with someone, you want to lean forward a little bit. Like if you're seated, lean forward a little bit, chin in your hands, make good eye contact. Leaning forward just lets them know, yes, I'm interested in what you have to say, versus like think about if you are talking with someone and they're leaning back or you can tell they're trying to get away from you. No, I'm bored. I want to leave, right? If appropriate, so this I have a great big caveat on this. Some people just don't like to be touched. Other people, it's just very natural for them. They'll reach out and touch someone's arm. They'll touch their back, something like that. If you know the person well enough, feel free to reach out. If it's your coach, hey, coach, and you put your hand on their arm, awesome. You want to make certain that you know the person well enough and know that they are comfortable with physical proximity. You also want to be very aware of matching the other person's body language. If their legs are crossed, by all means, go ahead and cross your legs. If they're sitting like straight up rigid, you probably want to do the same. Matching body language lets the other person know that you're paying attention and that you're interested in what is being said. It helps build rapport, which is like relationship between the two of you. Physical behaviors. So that includes things like if you're very, very nervous, shaky voice, sweating. Those are things that will improve with time. So the more practice you have speaking out or having difficult conversations, the less you will likely notice the shaky voice or the sweaty palms or any other nervous telltale sign. Lastly, space. You want to maintain adequate but professional space. So you don't want to be so far away that you have to yell for the person to hear. You also don't want to be so close that they are like, oh my gosh, I can tell what you ate for lunch, right? You want to maintain spacing, usually a couple feet or so. If you're very familiar with the person, of course, you can come in closer. But most people, unless they do not have a concept of personal space, will stand or be a few feet away from the person that they are speaking with. Finding the right time and the right space. So first off, especially in difficult conversations, you want to take the time to think your discussion through. Like think through the pros, the cons, the goods, the bads, how it might go. Hey, it might go this way. Hey, it might go this way. I need to be prepared for it to go this way. So a huge part of disagreement and communication is we are not properly prepared. So how are we going to react if the person does not agree with us, or how are we going to react if they get very, very upset? We need to be prepared for that. Some ways to prepare, we want to wait until we're relaxed, and so is the other person. So again, right before a game is not the time to challenge your coach on, hey, you didn't play me last game, and it's been like 4 games actually since you've played me, and what's going on? Not right before a game. Also, having discussions in the right place or in the right way means, so these two are kind of related, right? You don't want to be all geared up. You don't want to be like super hyped up. You also, if it's a conversation that needs to be done in private, do it in private, right? Or if it's like a work conversation, don't do it when you go out to enjoy just like the company of each other outside of work, right? So you want to make certain that it is the right time in the right place, that you are in the right frame of mind. If you are very, very upset about something, I promise you, you are not in the right frame of mind to discuss it with another person. That is also excellent marriage advice. As is this. Communicating 101. Big areas where we lack or that cause disagreements in communication. We take things too personally. We take them directed at us. We have to remember that everybody, whether it's coach, player, our boss, our spouse, they are coming from different backgrounds. And so maybe something that we say or that we do not mean it in the way that they're taking it. It does not mean that they're mad at us. It means that something triggered them, right? And so the worst thing that we can do is be like, get over yourself. You don't know what you're talking about. That is not going to be helpful. We need to let them know, of course, that's not what I meant. Sometimes we need to take a step back, though, before we do that, right? Remember what they say about assuming. If you don't know what they say about assuming, assuming makes an ass out of you and out of me. And so if we assume something and run with it, chances are whatever we're assuming is not what they were thinking. A lot of disagreements are started because we have assumed something that is not true. You want to be very, very careful about that. Like, ask for clarification. Hey, this is what I said. I think this is what you thought. I just want to make certain that, like, the air is clear, right? We want to focus on the present, not on the past. We don't bring dirt up, right? So, hey, you did this 3 years ago, or even you did this 3 months ago. That's in the past, and especially if it's already been dealt with, leave it in the past. Like, there is no need to bring up something. Hey, I know you apologize for this, but I'm so angry right now, and we're going to go back through this. That is tearing down the person. Again, not going to be helpful. Lastly, never say always and never say never. You always do this or you never do this. Not helpful when you're talking to your coach, not helpful when you're talking to your players. I had one player talk to me and say, my coach said I'll never amount to anything, and I'm certain his coach was trying to encourage him to work harder. It did not have that effect. And so be very, very careful when you say things like you never or you always. First off, because those are the things that really are damaging to their self-esteem, right? And most often they're not true because nobody always does something and nobody never does something. We want to be very, very encouraging in our words. If you're coaching your team, you want to be encouraging. If you are talking to your kids, you want to be encouraging. If you are a leader on your team and you're talking to your teammates, you want to be encouraging, right? Encouragement gets much better results than leading in a manner like where you're trying to use reverse psychology in general, right? Of course, everybody is different, but these are general principles that we want to use when we are working with teams, when we are working with more than one person, when we're communicating. We want to be very, very clear. We want to make certain there's no misunderstandings. We want to not use absolutes like always and never. And we want to stay focused on right now, what our goal is, what do we need to do to achieve it from this moment forward, not looking behind us.